Sure thing.
All right, welcome back to another interview. I'm Zach from Amplify, and in front of me we have.
Josh from the Electorate. Hi.
How are we?
We're good. My cat is going to obviously present for a little portion of this, so
No, that's
hope
all
we're
good.
okay with that.
Yeah, 100%. What's your cat's name?
Pork chop. Pork chop
Pork
by
chop.
name, pork chop by nature. So I'm going to open that up and maybe he'll disappear to a favorite spot. But there's a chance that he'll just be a little bit psychotic now, but we'll wait and see about that. So yeah.
I'm personally curious by this, but it's nothing to do with the band. Why'd you name your cat Pork Chop?
So we adopted the cat.
Yeah.
He kind of came through the local vet.
Mm.
My daughter, basically my daughter had been at us for ages to get a cat, and my wife had seen that this particular cat had had been discovered by the pets. Oh, sorry, one of the vet's dogs,
Mm.
a local vet. We've got a dog as well,
Yeah.
and so the dog or one of the vet's dogs had found this guy as a little tiny kitten, and he'd been obviously abandoned by his family or had run
Yeah.
away. I'm not quite sure. And so when they adopted him at the vets, it was kind of always a short-term thing, and then you there. Okay, thanks, great, sorted. Hopefully
Yeah.
that's the end of the cat. So the vets called him Pork Chop, and previous cat was called Fish, and so
Yeah.
it just seemed like it was a good fit to, you know, keep things going in that department. So yeah, there you go.
No, that's a pretty good name. For just everyone watching this, how would you describe your band? Who are you guys? Give us a little bit of a rundown.
Sure thing, sure thing. So the Electorate is a kind of indie guitar three-piece, I guess, if you wanted to, pinpoint us down to something like that.
Mm.
We've got a sort of a short history and a long history. The long story is that back way, way, way back when we were little, young, and enthusiastic, we played in a band called the Temple Bears, and we took it all very seriously, broke up earnestly, and then went and joined a whole lot of other bands.
Mm.
Well, some of the guys did. I only joined one other band called Atticus. Nick and Elliot went on to join Big Heavy Stuff. Elliot joined the Apartments. Nick's been in more bands than I've possibly had, hot meals at various points in time.
Yeah.
Um, and probably about 2014, I think we came back together to play a one-off benefit. It kind of always felt like when we broke up, we hadn't finished what we'd set out to do, which was to at least record an album.
Yeah.
And so when we reformed, we had lost all of that, sort of ambition, which can kind of get in the way of just making good music.
Mm.
And we got back together again and realized that, what we were doing, we really liked. We recorded an album under our old name, which was the Temple Bears.
Yeah.
And when we were recording it, we were kind of getting to the final stages of mixing. We did this album with a guy called Tim Kevin, who's a, really great person and a really great engineer.
Mm.
We got to the end of it and it kind of all felt new, even though we were sort of recording this album that was effectively kind of bookending an element of the past. And there were new songs on it as well. So it kind of felt like something new. And so we thought about changing the name, which we'd never been really that attached to in the first place. And we became the Electorate.
Yeah.
And, that was about 5 years ago. And finally, we're getting around to our next record, which is coming out very soon.
Hell yeah. I mean, your music has a distinct style. How would you describe the sound to someone who hasn't actually heard you guys yet?
Uh, three-piece bent indie guitar pop. It's kind of one of those things that we kind of aim to do a few different things within
Yeah.
our laneway, I guess. We like I got a great deal of respect for bands who kind of have a distinct sound, but
Mm.
I don't know. I mean, people tell us we have a sound, but I think that we kind of work against that in a way. We write different kinds of songs. We write, separately and collaboratively, which just means that we kind of explore different territories. And I think that that's sort of what this new album is reflective of, I think.
Yeah. I mean, how would you describe the new album? Like further, describe it.
Yeah. Look, we basically started with the idea that we wanted to do more with less.
Mm.
we'd gone a bit overboard with overdubs and stuff with the first record, and I think there was a part of me that really, well, part of us that just really wanted to strip it back. So we deliberately set out to work with really great engineers and great studios, and we did that so that we could kind of record the essence of what we were doing without so many bells and whistles.
Mm,
So that it was kind of a little bit more of the three of us. It's a bit challenging because the temptation in the studio is to always go nuts and to always
yeah.
put more stuff in. And we did do that, but we pulled a lot of stuff out when it came to mixing, which made the experience, a little bit more gratifying because I think sometimes you have a really fixed idea of what you want, and then other times you're open. And we were pretty open to, exploring what the studio was going to present, what the songs were going to do in that environment. But ultimately, we kind of still wanted to stick to that sort of modus operandi of keeping it a little bit sparse, a little bit just the three of us.
Yeah.
So that was sort of one aspect. The other aspect is that we've got two songwriters in the band, Elliot Fish and myself.
Mm,
Um, but that this time around we worked collaboratively to write together, kind of from the jams up. We jam a lot when we rehearse. It's something that is a really enjoyable thing to do,
mm.
kind of just making stuff up from nothing in essence. So there's three songs on the album that sort of sprang into life that way, and they presented us with sort of different paths that we hadn't necessarily gone down before, and that we wouldn't have because they were something that we collectively created rather than sort of one person bringing in a song with a vaguely fixed idea of how you think it's going to turn out.
Yeah.
So I think that those sort of three strands, plus the idea of trying to keep it refined and pretty simple, were sort of paramount in how we wanted to approach the
Mm.
record. Yeah.
Well, have you got a specific writing process, especially for this new album?
Um, Look, I think, like I said, like the whole idea of jamming collectively lent us um, avenues to explore different ideas.
Yeah.
And so I think when we found those, we jumped on them. We kind of pushed things in different directions so that it's not just, one song on the record repeated 10 times, which, is all fine and good, but we wanted to sort of explore different ideas and different textures. Um, so I think we were a little bit like, oh, shiny thing, let's go in that direction. Shiny thing, let's go in that direction. And
Oh,
we
that's 100% how it is, though.
Yeah, well, exactly. And I think we balanced that out with the core kind of more traditional song-based approach that we also have had in the past, um, which just end up meaning that everybody felt really fulfilled and really involved in the process.
Yeah.
Nick, our drummer, sang for the first time on this album, which
Nice.
meant that we were exploring three-part harmonies some of the
Mm.
time, which was really fun to do. And it's just allowed us to, kind of expand that sound, but kind of keep it on the brief of let's just make it sounds that the three of us can make, kind of thing. If that makes sense.
No, 100%. I get where you're coming from too, because I'm also in a band, and how you make
Yeah.
music is like you just jam, find
Yes.
something good, and you just keep throwing stuff. And as how you said it, like, oh, shiny thing, and you just grab it.
Completely. What's your
Oh,
band?
oh, it's more or less a interesting process. It's called Squiggly Line.
Okay. Next. And is that emblematic of
Yeah,
what?
100%. It's kind
Yeah.
of
Cool.
like a really weird punk sort of thing, but we just take silly ideas and do that and go with it. So
Great.
I can really see where you're coming from with your statement before.
Yeah. I just think it allows you to, um, I don't know, just create something from nothing, which is a really exciting thing to be able
Mm,
to do as a, creative, to be able to do that in a collaborative way. Because songwriting is great, and I love it as a mercurial sort of process,
mm,
but it's quite solitary in some regards. So for us to flip that and explore those textures and those songs together, which
yeah.
we've done on three songs on the 10-song album, have been great to do.
Have you got any favorite songs or tracks from this album?
Look, probably those three actually. So song, there's two songs that were written in the same rehearsal. The first track on the CD or the last track on the LP, depending on which format you go for. We've got two different orders that kind of work for the different mediums,
Oh,
partially
really?
because, yeah, look, it was partially just it was partially the idea of having a locked groove on
Yeah, nice.
the end of side two.
Mm,
And there was a particular song that we had, which is called End, which when we were recording it, just sort of I guess I had it in my head that it would be the last song on the LP. And so for the digital CD streaming version, it's the first track, and for the LP, it's the last track. It's one of the ones that we wrote together. In the same rehearsal, we came up with a song called Unfamiliar, which Elliot took the lead on the vocals of almost immediately.
mm.
And then there was another one called Face of a Giant, which was also another one that Elliot sang almost, almost had the melody conjure up immediately. And that was the first single that we put out at the end of last year. So they're kind of emblematic of that process. And so yeah, they're probably my favorite tunes at the moment. But to be honest, it shifts around. There's lots of little bits on the record that I find really enjoyable. Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, we've only just gotten the vinyl pressing this week, and I literally just
Nice.
unpacked the CDs then. So it's yeah, it's still fresh actually,
Yeah.
which is nice.
No, I feel
Sometimes by
like
this
as
point,
a
it's you kind of over it, but it doesn't feel that way.
yeah,
Sorry.
exactly. No, that's all good. And I feel like as a musician, as you just more develop more music, it always becomes your favorite.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think it's hard to get over that appeal of what's fresh and what you're excited by at that particular point in time. I think that's yeah, you're right. That's something that you're
Yeah.
all into, really, isn't it? Oh, my best work is my current work, regardless of what other people think. So
Oh, exactly. I
yeah.
mean, because you're also your biggest like criticizer
Oh yeah.
as an artist, which
Yeah.
can be negative and really positive at the same time.
Yeah, I think I mean the nice thing about we're a little bit older now and I think we're less precious about a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm certainly doing things as a guitarist, as a songwriter, as a singer that I probably would have been too, I don't know if uptight or afraid is the right kind of terminology, but it's probably in the ballpark. Whereas now
Mm.
it's just a case of like, let's try it, let's see.
Yeah. No, I feel like there's also a lot of younger musicians that I specifically know that have that sort of feel,
Mm, mm.
but maybe that's something that loses with age. I'm not too sure yet.
Yeah, well, hey, you'll get there. You'll find out before too long.
I mean, hopefully.
Yeah, yeah. Well, fingers crossed, right?
Um, how have you found navigating the music industry as an independent band?
Good question.
Thank
The
you.
reason I'm laughing is because I don't think we do in a way. Like I
Yeah.
think one of the things that we kind of existed in a space where we were too mainstream for the indie world and too indie for the mainstream world
Mm.
back in the day when we were the Temple Bears. And I think when we reconvened, it is and it remains really just about making ourselves happy and exploring a space that we really enjoy, relishing the friendship and just relishing the shared creative process. So navigating the industry as such isn't something that we really do. I think what I've really enjoyed this time round is accessing and taking advantage of the community broadcast network in
Yeah.
this country, um, reaching out to bloggers overseas, kind of having more personal contact in a way. I think has been really enjoyable. I think Bandcamp's a massive plus.
Oh, 100%.
I think the direct nature of what you can do now is fantastic, but I think the model of and just pull me up if I rant on, just
No, no, it's all good. Keep ranting. I'm enjoying it.
pull me out because I think that the industry is now effectively geared towards us as content, us as musicians,
Mm.
having to provide content for people other than the creatives who make it in the first place to profit off of. I think that
Yeah.
that's probably always been the case, but I think it's much more acute now. And I
Oh,
think that,
100%.
the avenues that we have in which to publicize music or advertise music are effectively cornered by Meta.
Hmm.
Now, we as a band have issues with Meta as an organization in terms of how they conduct themselves, what they stand for, their alignment with with Trump, whatever. So, wanting to just pump money into ads in that environment so that we can publicize that we are creating content for that environment that we are then posting on streaming services that
Mm.
effectively once again profit off of our hard work, our creative endeavors, our financial burden. Feels really shit. Feels
Yeah.
really heartbreaking. So we're kind of actively choosing to not go down that path for, as long as we can. We're kind of actively trying to engage with the community broadcast network a lot more. Kind of, I don't know, go with the positives and ignore the negatives as much as possible.
Mm.
I think there's obviously some issues with the music industry that dovetail nicely into late stage capitalism, and they're becoming increasingly apparent. Uh, yeah, that's the very long answer to a very short question. But
No, it's a very good answer because I agree with you. I mean, as just also doing these interviews and stuff and understanding the whole
mm,
content side of it, it's a lot more frustrating,
mm,
even for being a musician, is the fact that you kind of feel like you have to not be a musician, like a writer or
yeah,
someone that plays an instrument, but more as a legitimate entertainer. Like
totally.
obviously when you get on stage you're an entertainer, but like you have to jump in front of the camera and be like, "Oh, come to my gig, we got a new album." It's like that's
Yeah,
what doesn't feel as artistic of as being as a musician.
it feels pretty tedious, and it feels like you are. I mean, look, you can argue about the merits of what we do and say, look, that music has always been a commodity, but it feels much more uh, apparent in this particular equation at the
Yeah.
moment. But I don't know if that's going to change. I think just accepting it for what it is. There are positives with the streaming services. I do
Mm.
like the fact that we get exposure in places of the world that we would otherwise never get to. Um, there are some positives to it. It's just that the weight of it is it's imbalanced in the wrong direction as far as I'm concerned. But you know, I'm not
No,
exactly alone in that department. So yeah.
I mean that's how it is anyway.
Yeah.
Because even in Melbourne, like if you want to be somewhat successful, you have to have a large social media presence.
Mm,
And it's
mm,
very frustrating with that because a lot of bands I know, or even my band myself,
yeah.
it's like we don't really want to do that. We just want to make the music and enjoy the art for it. And if people want to enjoy it, that's
Yeah.
great for them.
Totally. I think it's a game, right? I
Mm,
mean, it's like a lot of things. You look at the merits of the people who rise to the top of whatever chosen creative field it is that they land in, and sometimes they're really just great at what they do, and they've had a good deal of luck. But sometimes they're also really good at playing the game.
yeah.
Have any particular interest in playing it other than having conversations with people who are interested and trying to find meaningful ways of promoting the work that's not just throwing money at Meta and going, here you go, here's more content for you, here's more money for you. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's where we're at.
This is no, just personally, I just hate the process of social media. It's
Yeah,
very frustrating.
yeah. I mean, I'm not saying we don't do it. We operate, we have an Insta account, we have a Facebook account.
Yeah.
It's kind of the baseline. I think it's just working out where is a good line. And I mean, I think Nick's got a Substack. I haven't delved into it yet, but I think
Mm,
that would be a nice space for us to be able to explore putting things out there that are for the betterment of the conversation rather than for the betterment of the platform. And
mm,
we'll look into that as well.
yeah. Well, moving on from both of our social media rants.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when you're not making music, what's something that you guys just do? Like any hobbies or any pastimes sort of thing?
As in the three of us, or as in,
Three of us, or even just yourself.
look, I got two kids, and a wayward cat who's disappeared, and a long-term partner, and so life is life is the distraction. I mean, I
Yeah,
work as well, obviously. I've never been able to just live off music. I've never really had um, the ability to sort of, throw everything at it. And I think if I had, it would have made the balance that I have in my life really hard to achieve. So I'm pretty happy having, music as this sort of escapist place where
yeah.
I go to, create something that's really fun for me, fun for the two people that I make music with, and hopefully fun for the people that listen to it and come and see us live when we do get around to playing.
Mm,
Um, yeah, look, apart from that, I'm a photographer. I love doing that, but it's my job, so it's kind of, it's
mm.
lost some of its creative sort of freedom, but in a way, I think that's enabled me to maintain the band as that outlook. So that's
Yeah,
that's pretty unique. Um, Other than that, I just seem to spend a lot of time walking the dog and thinking about stuff, politics.
yeah,
Listen to a lot of podcasts about politics, kind of engaged in that on a local, national, and kind of international level because I think a lot of the stuff that's happening is um, partly terrifying and partly exhilarating depending on how you
yeah.
look at things. So yeah, is
All that
yeah,
stuff.
all that stuff, art, music, family, fun,
And
that's
politics.
and politics. Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Um, can you walk me through the inspiration of the newest music video that you guys have, with The Great Divide?
Yeah, sure. So, um, during COVID, Elliot's parents passed away, not from COVID, but it was kind of around that time, or it was just
Mm,
after that time, I think. And it took a while for them to be able to have a celebration for their life. And
yeah,
they were really, they were really wonderful people. I knew them when I was a teenager. And when we reconvened the band, it was a really nice thing that, they were still around and still part of all of our lives. Um, and when Elliot and his sister had a wake for them, they played some of the home movies that they had, and I remember just looking at this footage of these two people very much in love, and very much in the sort of freedom and prime of their life, and just going, this is such beautiful footage. It's such a beautiful encapsulation of yeah that point in your life, I guess,
mm,
where you can be free and able and roam the globe as they were able to do back then. And it just seemed like a great background. We have the tyranny of distance separating us now, so we can't necessarily all be in the same place at the same time. And so for Elliot, who lives in Adelaide, it was really lovely for Nick and I to be able to project that footage onto us or onto the wall that we used and see Elliot's parents and
yeah,
Elliot kind of looking back at us and laughing with us. It made for a really, really beautiful experience in terms of what Nick and I were able to kind of tap into, and I hope that for Elliot it was the same kind of thing, in that there was a degree of kind of interactivity about the occasion that might not have otherwise happened. So yeah, and then it was just really an idea of kind of abstracting the footage by putting it on to ourselves, putting it on to the instruments,
mm,
just to add an extra dimension to the video, and give it another element other than just the footage of Elliot's folks,
yeah.
which would have been fine on its own. It was just just another element to sort of play in with. So it was great. It
Mm.
was a really lovely experience. I'm really glad that we were able to do it. Actually, it's great.
Yeah, no, even from watching it myself, I could tell that it was something very deep and meaningful to you guys.
Yeah,
This is a very
yeah,
beautiful video, and that's why I'm
yeah.
happy that we're talking about it.
Thanks. No, thanks very much. It's one of those things that I think has some emotional resonance. it doesn't necessarily relate to the lyrics of the song, but that's
Mm,
not a bad thing as well. I think it was just about there's something about the spark of those two in that footage that's really nice to explore in the context of the song because I think the song's sort of about losing and then getting back that spark. So
yeah.
it's a good thing to be able to do.
No, well, amazing music video from you guys.
Thanks. Thanks very much.
My last question is,
Hmm.
what can fans expect from your band in the future? Like any gigs or any
Yeah.
another album?
Yeah, there'll be, well, look, we haven't actually done that sort of reappraisal that I think you do every sort of milestone, but the inference is very much collectively that we'll keep doing what we do. We really
Mm,
love doing what we're doing. It provides us with a really unique space in our life that means a lot to us both, you know, as sort of creative individuals, but more importantly as really long-term friends now. Like we've known each other for a really long time, and there's something really unique about that um, process. And it's look, it's just fun, you know. I
yeah,
mean, there's you look you don't always have as much of that in your life as you want. So when you do, you want to hold on to it and you want to explore that and you want to consolidate that. So I think it's really important that we maintain that
mm,
kind of degree of creativity and escapism and camaraderie.
yeah,
Um, in terms of the album, look, that's out soon. It's eclectic, but I hope not as eclectic as we're gonna be. I hope that we kind of keep exploring those different paths and keep pushing in the directions that we've started to push in. Um, gigs, look, it's all just logistics. If there's people out there who want us to come to Melbourne and want us to come to Adelaide and want us to come to Brisbane,
yeah.
we'll go. It's just the mundane logistics of life that prevent us from being able to do that.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, it's we've all kind of been in bands where we've played 20 rooms and it's it's not as much fun as obviously playing with people who want to see you and are really engaged. So I dare say we'll kind of see how the reaction to the record is, and if there's people who are really keen on it, then yeah,
Yeah,
we'll get our act together, but it'll take a few months because it hasn't been.
stuff needs planning.
Yeah, everything takes planning and it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, which is all fine. It's all great. But I
Yeah,
think, I have sort of limited planning capacity and most of that's gone into, the logistics of getting the release
mm,
to this point. So, booking
yeah.
gigs booking gigs isn't my favorite thing, and I don't know if it's anyone's favorite thing, but
No, it
we'll see.
isn't.
No, we'll see. We'll see. That's all right.
No, but well, if you guys do come down to Melbourne, I'll be very keen to see you because the first album, really good. I listened to that earlier this week.
Thank you.
And even the single that you released, it's good.
Thank
Keen
you.
for the album.
Really kind of you to say.
No, that's all good. Well, I appreciate you talking to me, Josh.
Likewise, Zach, and thanks for taking the time to, to chat
All good.
and to listen. Thanks very much.
Well, hopefully we can chat in the future again.
Would look forward to that.
Awesome. Enjoy your day, man.
Yeah, you too. Thanks.
See ya.
See you, everyone. Bye.